yes, of course, we may pick holes, in the CBN governor's proposal and probably arguments, but then another financial expert actually says, this is all a diversion. Now, let's hear from Mr. Henry Boyo, who actually shared this perspective with us on the program Sunrise Daily a few days ago, and then we'll be right back.
The important thing is that the move is totally unpopular. That is clear. There is no doubt about that. But I'm worried that we seem to be playing out to a script. The script is to keep us occupied talking about this thing, getting the Senate worked up and all the lot, and then after some time they would say, okay, maybe 5,000 naira note is too high, but we'll bring in the 2,000 naira note. And people say, okay, at least we won a little bit. A note denomination profile is the product of the monetary policy. Okay, so if you have a bad monetary policy, you're going to have a bad monetary profile. In other words, after the 5,000 naira, you're bound to be talking about 10,000 naira in 5 years' time. The monetary profile of any country is dependent or is the product of its monetary policy model, how successful or how much a failure it is. And the fact that ours is a failure is the reason why we have a 5,000 naira note. And we will have a 10,000 naira note in 5 years or less, because at the rate at which inflation is officially going, it means that your 5,000 naira note today will buy what 1,000 naira note is buying today in 5 years' time. So you would need what? A bigger denomination, meaning you have what? A faulty monetary framework.
Well, that was an economic expert, Mr. Henry Boyo there. And, unfortunately, in many areas, his comments were actually misinterpreted, turned rather upside down. But it's very clear. He says that it is a faulty monetary policy that determines, that creates the avenue for, increasing the size, the figure of what we have as our denominations. And of course, it did say the way inflation is going, the way the inflation is pushing it, if we're at 5,000 naira, then of course in less than 5 years we might also have the 10,000 naira note. But then, in terms of its effect on the lives of the common man, of course, let's even leave out the argument of, losing money in real terms. What impact would a 5,000 naira note have on the life of, the ordinary day-to-day Nigerian who does not have access to the amount of funds that people at that level have access to?
And that's what's precisely the economist who just spoke had actually predicted 50,000 naira denomination when he predicted 10,000 naira denomination. It's not what the 5,000 can do to the person that cannot even have the 5,000. So in the first place, he doesn't even have something that he can do with the economy, because of the 100 million people are just having about 200 naira a day. And that's the reality of the situation. Now, that brings us to the point that was taken up by the penultimate speaker, to the extent that, yes, what do we do to begin to have sound monetary policies? And I think that's the key. And the fact that we have not had sound economic policies, monetary policies in terms of the development of the aggregate economy, that's why you are now beginning to see, okay, let's have some cosmetic changes that will just occupy the minds of the Nigerians and all that. The reality is that when you have lower denomination, chasing a lot more goods, it's far more solid than when you have bigger denomination. And
actually, that's the next question. Exactly. I actually was going to ask, because whether you call it 5,000 naira, even if it's in a single note, we do have 5,000 naira, although not in a single piece of paper. So whether it's 5,000 naira in 100 naira notes, or 5,000 naira in 200 naira notes, or 500,000 naira, 5,000 naira in 1,000 naira notes. Actually, is there any different? That's the argument that Mr. Bismarck Rwanda actually extended. I mean, whether 5,000 naira in a single note or in 5 different notes or in 10 different notes, what's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is when you look at the fact that the 10 naira note as it is presently, 5 naira notes and 20 naira note has been proposed to be turned into coins. That is where the difference lies. Because when you turn them into coins, there is hardly any transaction presently in Nigeria that coins is being accepted. In fact, we don't have the automated machines, dispensing machines that you slot in coins and it dispenses products for you. So the point is that we don't need redenomination that would bring Nigeria, the common man, into problems, especially where they cannot afford to buy those things that ordinarily they were affording before. Presently, pure water is 10 naira. I can assure you, yes, you can buy pure water with 10 naira note. I can assure you that if 10 naira is turned into coins, you will see pure water for 10 naira. That is the reality on ground. We should stop being too theoretical about this thing. It is the reality on ground that by the time you turn 20 naira into coins, how many people can carry 20 naira coins in their pockets presently? Because it's useless out there. So the person, tomato seller, the pure water seller, and so on, who sell things that are of that denomination will increase it to the highest note that it will be convenient for him or her to carry home. That is the reality on ground.
Very, very, very interesting indeed. So turn 10 naira into a coin now, and then of course it disappears off Nigeria's currency radar.
Yes.
Well, of course, but you know, economic experts, because they actually have been talking a lot about this particular issue. Yes, that's why in this case we are trying to keep it to the level, keep it down to the level of, you know, what the ordinary Nigerian would understand about the issue of the 5,000 naira note. Now, the experts have spoken. The CBN governor has had his say. He has actually explained it, saying it's really no big deal. But you are saying that, of course, it will have a major impact on the life of the common man, which actually brings us to, you know, the question for today. Who should have the final say in this matter? Because the debate is raging on and on and on and on. So whose views should be respected? Is it the views of the financial expert or the views of the ordinary Nigerian?
You see, the constitutional provision is that the person who gets the pinch, you know, the highest in terms of the impact, the incident, is the common man.
Yes.
So if the common man is not happy about whatever economic policies that you are bringing out, naturally it will cascade from the grassroots up to the level of the CBN, who is really representing the monetary arm of the presidency.